Hey, and welcome back, lovely people. I thought today we'd talk about something that we all discuss, but I don't think we all know its true origin, and that is the so-called special relationship between the United States on one hand and the UK on the other. How did it all come about? Well, I've lived in the United States for many years, and I'm married to an American. And when I lived in the US, there certainly was a respect, but no historic love of the UK. You declared independence. You weren't granted it. Bad British joke. But everywhere I lived, there were Irish, Italians, Germans, Poles, Scandinavians, Mexicans, and people from all over the world, but hardly any Brits. So historically, the United States and United Kingdom were completely divided, and I understand why. The US has a constitution and a Bill of Rights for its citizens. In the UK, we're subjects to the Queen. But we constantly hear this term, the special relationship between the UK and the US. It's not what it appears to be. So it sounds like a special accord, you know, we're all buddies and we all pull together in the same direction. No, it's not that at all. And the truth behind the term special relationship is really interesting, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. So it all started in World War II. Britain, of course, a tiny island surrounded by this fascist regime called Nazi Germany. And Britain was basically going to lose the war. And America wasn't helping. They weren't in World War II yet. And we desperately needed their help. So what could we give the Americans to get them on our side and join World War II and fighting in Europe? And that was Winston Churchill's greatest plan. And it all started here, a minor stately home a few hundred miles north of London called Bletchley Park. The UK realised if Britain could break the German secret communication code called Enigma, they could understand the operation of Nazi Germany. But it was going to be hard. In fact, it was going to be impossible. The Enigma machine is so sophisticated that every single letter can have a million permutations, and they change daily at midnight. So the UK recruited some amazing people to crack the Enigma code, and they weren't the mathematical geniuses from the universities that you would expect. No, they were people good at Scrabble and crosswords, and they would even do tests to see how quickly you could complete a crossword. And if you were jolly good, you got a ticket to Bletchley. Here, predominantly women who are particularly good at looking at linguistic connections and seeing patterns in speech started with pencil and paper, meticulously just trying to break the code. After years, eventually they found a special clue, and in fact it was a bit of a cock-up by a German. They figured out that German messages all ended with two words: Heil Hitler. So you kind of knew what the last few letters of every code were. So they started looking for patterns, and they started to see them. The issue was it took so long to break a code that the operation that the Germans were talking about might have long passed, so it wasn't really of any strategic use. They needed to do it faster. Winston Churchill understood he had an ace in his pocket. He called the women who worked at Bletchley the goose, that laid the golden egg because he had a plan. It was getting desperate. However plucky Little Britain was, we weren't going to beat the Nazis without some serious help. Mainly, we didn't have the resources, the fuel, the tanks to fight the war. We needed America in the war. So Winston Churchill did this. He invited American Secret Service representatives to Bletchley to look at the family jewels. They were amazed that we'd cracked the code with bits of paper and a pencil and some brilliant linguists. And so Britain and America decided to share their Secret Service signals in what became known as a special relationship. So that's the definition of special relationship. It's not about eating the same burgers, it's about sharing secrets. We know the outcome of World War II, and the special relationship continued. But then it all went horribly wrong. Britain is such a class-segmented society. And MI6, the secret CIA of the UK, only recruited their spies from the upper echelons of British life. But the Soviet Union realized that some of those posh toffs could be turned, and so started a campaign at universities like Cambridge to recruit double agents. And they were quite successful. And Russia was good at its job, recruiting this guy, Kim Philby, who worked for MI6, but also was a Soviet agent. At some of the hottest times in the Cold War, Kim Philby would undermine security. He gave British and American secrets to the Soviets. Eventually, and this took 10 years of his serious spying, and he was working for MI6, it became obvious that he was a double agent, and America was furious. By the late 60s and the early 70s, the special relationship between the US and British security had all but vanished. So today, why do we still talk about it as if it's something special? Well, it is. It managed to reinvent itself. But very much on American terms. America needed the United Kingdom's position in the world to put radar bases and spy satellite tracking stations to listen to the European and Soviet continents. To save face, Britain had to agree, and now we have American spy bases in the United Kingdom. So a simple term like special relationship has a dark and secret history, and that's the kind of things that I like to talk about. So stay tuned for more, because the truth is out there.